Welcome to the Gray Area. The Gray Area Media. We've obligated ourselves to be the voice for all communities, speaking on topics that include community, religion, education, politics, technology, sports, health, and wellness. The Gray Area Media is a platform created by longtime friends for the sole purpose of providing our communities with the ability to voice current, past, and modern-day issues. The Gray Area and its naming significance solely speaks to the area in which people shy away from speaking because of media-based constraints or contractual-based obligations. Well, I'm here to tell you, we don't do that here. So please, stay tuned in. We're going to go live in a few minutes. Don't forget, please add us as a friend on Facebook so that you can follow our live feed. And not only that, please add us on Twitter and Instagram at The Gray Area Media. Please visit our website at www.thegrayareamedialive.com. Thank you. Hello, viewers. We're live right now. This is The Gray Area, and this is your boy, Ray E.
This is your boy, P. Wills.
This is Ebony.
Ebony in the building. Our brother, Nuri Muhammad, has came back on the show with us. How you doing, man?
Fine, sir.
Assalamu
Honored
alaikum.
to be back on. Wa alaikum salam.
Yes,
Peace,
sir.
that means peace be unto you, everybody. Don't
Yes.
mean blow up a bus. That means may God's peace be unto you, and the
Absolutely.
proper response is wa alaikum salam. That
Thank
means
you.
may that same peace be with you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
And our brother, Abdul Hakeem Shabazz.
Always a pleasure.
Assalamu
Yes,
alaikum
sir.
to you, too.
All right, well, like salam. See, I can speak the language too.
We-
I do like bacon, and bean pie actually isn't bad either. So there you go.
Hopefully it's turkey.
Nah, Applewood. Nuri's like, oh man, you guys have no idea what you just unleashed here.
Commercial break.
Already.
Lay hands on him in Jesus' name.
Oh, it's gonna take more than Jesus. Trust me, my wife has already tried.
Oh, Lord. Oh, jeez. Well, you know what, fellas? We have a very, very, very unique show today. A lot of this is going to be tied into a lot of the most recent events that's going on today.
Yes, sir.
As you guys know, at the Gray Area, we talk about a lot of the things that's going on in the community, and this is something that we have to talk about. As far as Charlottesville, Virginia,
That's right.
the president's position on a lot of the issues that are happening. Even today, there was another interview that he did, and it's just still not quite sitting right with people. It seems like he just doesn't kind of know, doesn't have the words. But what I want to do is first, dig into you guys, because we also have new viewers, and I just want them to understand who's on the show, what do you guys do, and what do you guys represent, from a business and organization perspective. Nuri.
Well, I'm Brother Nuri Muhammad. I'm a proud student, servant, and soldier of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I serve as what you would call the resident minister. That's how they say it in church, which means I live here
Absolutely.
in Indianapolis, and I'm blessed to be requested around the country and even out of the country to teach a lot of young soldiers on politics, economics, spiritual development, goal setting, etc., etc. So that's me, just your brother.
Absolutely. Thanks, Nuri.
I probably like to be your lawyer. Abdul Hakim Shabazz. Been here in Indianapolis since 2004. Before here, I lived in Springfield, Illinois. I covered government, politics. So Barack Obama, Rod Blagojevich, all those guys, I knew them when nobody else did or paid attention to them. Been covering government here in Indiana, like I said, since 2004. I'm an attorney, college professor, political writer, commentator, published all over the state of Indiana, and I write about politics. And my political philosophy is more the conservative libertarian, which means I don't care what you do, as long as I don't have to pay for it, we're cool.
That's interesting. Springfield, Illinois.
Yep.
Wow. You know what? I used to live there.
Where?
I went to Lincoln Land.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. I got my master's degree from the University of Illinois right next door.
Okay, yep. Wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thanks, fellas.
Thank you, sir.
What I want to address first is some things that are hitting here locally in the city. As far as like Aaron Bailey, he was the guy who fled the police and was shot after the crash. There's still some sketchy things going on in regards to how it happened or whatnot. There's still some details being worked out. Shout out to Don't Sleep, the organization who has been, diligently working on trying to make sure that they're announcing the correct things. Because what happened was after that happened, all the media outlets did their own thing locally, and they were all saying something completely different than, what had happened. So it's almost like we have to hold the media accountable. And shout out to Don't Sleep for doing that, because oftentimes nobody addresses the media because they just think that the media is the media and you can't do anything about it. So,
but in all due fairness to my brothers and sisters in the press, because in addition to covering politics, I've been covering Indianapolis government since I got here as well. The early reports of incidents, this is just a fact of the news business, are usually wrong because no one knows exactly what happened.
Right.
And people are correct to tell my brothers and sisters in the press, hey, don't jump the gun.
right.
Wait till we get all the facts first, because there's been some
Absolutely.
discussion about when Mr. Bailey fled.
Absolutely.
And led him on the high-speed chase and hit the tree. Did he lean over in the car
Absolutely.
and reach for the gun? There have been some talk by some officers early on that they thought he might have. I was like, well, guys, no offense, we don't know because, A, we don't have the coroner's report, see where the bullets had come from yet.
Right.
We don't have the ballistics report. We don't know where the officers, were standing. We haven't heard the the testimony of the woman who was with him in the car. There are some things we just don't know.
Right.
And so it is responsible journalism to not infer or speculate as to what happened.
Right.
All we can know by the facts as they are right now, noting that the facts could possibly change. Where I took an issue with the Don't Sleep crowd is where they're accusing the two officers, saying that the officer should be charged with murder. Whoa, wait a second here. Lawyer in the room. Murder is a specific legal definition. That somebody was knowingly, willingly, and unlawfully had their life taken, killed. And you can't say that yet because guess what? We don't have all the facts. What these folks are saying is, well, let's just charge him with murder first and then see what happens after that. No, that's what you do in North Korea and Iran. That's how you do justice there. That is not how you do justice here. You get all the facts first.
Well, there is a slight difference in how that's being done depending on who you are.
Yeah.
So there's cases where like the situation with the woman who was killed by an officer out in was that Missouri?
You mean Minnesota?
Yeah.
Yeah, but and you're right. But you got to remember, you can't put all police jurisdictions in the same boat, because how Minnesota does these sort of things is different than how Indiana does it, which is different how Texas does it. These are all
Different state laws.
Absolutely. But what I'm getting at is it depends on who the person is and how it's being addressed. Things move a lot faster when your skin color is different, and I think that they're saying, hey, of all the people that have been moved through this process, you now have this situation, and it's taking forever. So I don't think that anybody is perpetuating that they're murderers.
I would rather, as an attorney, have them take their time and do it right than rushed and do it wrong.
But in the meantime, though, what's actually being reported in the meantime, though, kind of adds a stain on to what could lead into a favorable investigation for what I call the victim.
Right.
Well, I just want to share a concept from psychology.
Okay.
Have you ever heard the saying that time heals all wounds?
And eventually wounds all heals.
Do you know where they got that from?
Where's that?
It's a concept that's called the sunken cost fallacy, which says that when a traumatic incident strikes a person or a community, if you drag out that time long enough, it doesn't save in the long-term memory. The emotions are disconnected from it, and the person, whatever your decision is okay with that decision. So I'm saying that to say that there is a process, there is a procedure, but what happens with us when we are part of the justice system is that they make sure that it takes so long that we end up having the psychological damage of being in a sunken cost fallacy state of mind, where it's taken so long that it doesn't even hurt no more when they come out and say what they almost always say, as they said with Alton Sterling, as they said with Sandra Bland, as we seen with Trayvon Martin, as we seen with Freddie Gray, as we seen with Walter Scott, and I can run the list down into the thousands in these last 3 years. You have almost 3,000 black men killed by police officers or correctional officers in the last 3 years, and only 4 police in prison right now for it.
Wow.
So at the end of the day, we might call for prosecution, murder, but what we are really looking for is we're looking for, once and for all, somebody to give us the justice that we know is available because they give it to everybody else other than us. So that kind of becomes the math. And it is a diabolical, it is a form of tricknology to drag you out and wait until you're not mad no more, and then go ahead and spring the fact.
So let me just ask you guys, how long should the investigation take?
Well, the investigation should probably take weeks, not months.
Well, it hasn't. This was 46 days ago is when this occurred.
52.
52
Yes,
days.
yes,
So we're
but
we're about 6-7 weeks.
Yeah,
into
it should have. They could have found enough evidence. First of all, there's no weapon in his vehicle.
But you got to remember though, when we're dealing with police and law enforcement, in a split second, having, like I said, dealt with cops and kind of gone through some of their training, like I said, back in Illinois, in a split second, a moment's notice, as a police officer, if somebody is reaching for something, I don't know what they're reaching for. That's assuming, and do you as a law enforcement official, because it's the old saying to go, there's no such thing as a routine traffic stop. As one officer from Southport found out, he goes, sees somebody, car overturned, the guy strung out on drugs, takes out a gun and,
Right,
kills
but
kills
why did they pull him over? See?
Well, they didn't pull him over. His car was turned over. It was a car accident in the Southport situation.
No, I'm talking about in our brother Adrian. Why did they pull him over?
I would argue, why did he flee?
They pulled him over, talked to him for 9 minutes.
But during that
and then he
9-minute
drove
window,
for 1 minute.
no, in that 9-minute window,
But
he
the point
flees,
is, yes.
takes police on a high-speed chase. I will submit to you that when Aaron Bailey flees the scene, that is when the dynamics change, and then we're now in a whole entire new situation. And this isn't a Smokey and the Bandit where you just drive a straight shot, for 2 miles. He makes a right, makes a left, makes another right. I mean, the guy is trying to avoid
for 60 seconds.
and escape.
60 seconds. But my point is this: is that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it like this: out of all of our studies, history is best qualified to reward our research. So, what is the history of a black male being pulled over for no reason at all by a white police officer?
I'll take your question a little bit further.
The history
and one
is,
of the officers was actually African American.
Well, one of them was, but the history is that whenever we are pulled over in a dark environment for no reason at all,
but you can't say
come
no reason.
out of the situation.
No, but you get, my friend, you cannot say no reason.
Even if it is a legitimate reason, my tail lights out, my license plate lights out, whatever, they haven't presented the reason yet. So the point is what was your reasonable suspicion to even pull him over in the first place? Even if you had one, the history of us in dealing with police is that when we get pulled over, we suffer either harm or sometimes death at the hands of the police. So in a climate like this, the police, they didn't even shoot the man till after he crashed.
That's what I was going to
See what I'm
say.
saying?
You know,
See,
the
he got
fleeing,
hit with an
but
airbag.
once he's
hit with
Now,
an
see,
airbag,
the question
and
is,
then they so
what
the
threat?
and this is why I said, let's get all the facts first.
Right.
Because the question is, even though the airbag has deployed, we don't know what his state of mind is. We don't know if he's stern. Is he reaching for something? Does it look like he's reaching for something? And then what is the girl?
Yeah, but
also we found out from the toxicology report they had cocaine and stimulants in his system.
Yeah, but what we know, brothers,
once again, my friend,
So they say.
changes. Well, that's the toxicology report. But you cannot pick and choose the evidence that you want to follow. If you're going to take the coroner's report that says all the bullets came, from the back of the car, which doesn't mean both officers shot from the back of the car, because it is not uncommon in police procedure that one officer approaches from the side, one stands back. That is not uncommon.
what was the purpose for shooting anyway?
But no, because if when one officer thinks the other officer is in danger, oh my God, like I said, we don't know yet.
That's
why,
the
yeah, that's why I just said.
See, the thing,
that's why I said let's get all the facts. This is not meaning the officers by any means will be exonerated by any stretch of the imagination. It is giving everybody the due process that they are deserved. So if and when, say these officers are charged with a crime, convicted, that there is absolutely no question, absolutely no doubt.
all right. Now, again, when you look at the mathematics, see if Pookie kills Ray Ray, Ray Ray's dead, and Pookie goes to jail immediately on that scene and spends the rest of his life in prison. But when Officer McGillicuddy kills 19-year-old unarmed Ray Ray, he doesn't get prosecuted, doesn't go to jail. In fact, he gets paid administrative leave. Then he leaves the force, goes to work in the private sector.
Are you saying that
gets paid more money?
Are you saying that every officer that discharges his weapon in the line of duty should be charged with crime?
Gets paid more money than what he was paying. Gets a book deal, and then listen to me, brother. I'm showing you the math.
I actually have the math right here.
No, this is the math of what happens.
The math right here. There have been 523 police action shootings that have resulted in fatalities in 2017. So far this year, 10 of which have occurred in the state of Indiana.
And then again, he gets a book deal. This is the math, traditional math. And then the other Confederate-minded people that think like him set up a GoFundMe account. The man ends up being a millionaire. So at the end of the day, we can't continue to try to manipulate the let's deal with the facts of each individual incident one at a time. This is a trend, this is a mindset, and this is a culture in law enforcement in the United States of America that was rooted in how police officers came into existence in the first place.
Now, let me ask you this question then. Out of the, if we're going to go, let's just stick with the facts at hand. Out of the number of African Americans who have been shot by police and police action shooting documented by the Washington Post, which has no bias whatsoever, let's get to the facts.
Well, that's definitely an opinion.
I'm rightful on occasion. 23% were African American, 8 unarmed. So
wait, is this in Indiana?
No. In Indiana, there were actually, I want to say, like 2 or 3.
Okay.
Unarmed.
But it's not illegal to be armed though.
No, but
so I guess I'm not.
No. The question is because if what you're trying to say is there is a systemic thing of thousands of African Americans being killed by law enforcement. The data right here, and if you have data to the contrary, I'll be more than happy. You're looking at a one year time. I'm looking at this year's timeline.
Right.
And actually, matter of fact, over the last couple of years that the Post has been tracking this, the numbers really haven't changed all that much. Actually, the bigger tragedy.
Well, the year's not over yet.
Actually, the bigger tragedy in all this is the individuals' mental health issues who are unarmed and shot by law enforcement because the person who's mentally challenged doesn't know when to stop. When the officers tell them to stop and stop moving, and still comes in charge of the officers.
That's not a death penalty either.
Yeah, but once again, if the officer, I don't know what the person's mental condition is.
All
I know is the person's coming to me with a weapon.
Brother, sure. Can I ask you a question? Do you believe and have you witnessed with your own eyes that the use of lethal force is restrained when it comes to white offenders more so than it is with black offenders?
The data does not show that. In the past 3 years. So give me the data to back it up, and I'll gladly believe you.
So what about the eye test?
What do you mean?
I mean, just, when you listen, I mean, I hear everything that you guys are saying, but there's something, with the eye test, things are caught on camera. I mean, just blatant.
See, but here's the problem with the camera, because we have been having conversations with IMPD about body cams, because there's no money in the mayor's budget right now to do body cams for IMPD, because the question has been, if there had body cams, then situations like the Andre Green, the kid who did the carjacking, who tried to run over police and ends up getting shot, the situation with Aaron Bale and some of the other things, like the question was, if there was a body cam, would that have captured everything? Being in the television business, I remind people that while cameras are helpful, cameras are not everything, because the camera only gets one perspective. The camera can only do what the camera is pointing at. The camera cannot tell me what's over here. The camera cannot tell me what's over here. The camera does not have peripheral vision. So while cameras are helpful, they are not necessarily outcome determinative.
So what about Eric Gardner? I mean, he's literally on the street. They have a camera right there.
With 8 people on his back.
And he gets choked out.
No, and Eric Gardner, when Eric Gardner happened, I was on the radio. I said, if I was the city of New York, if I was city controller, I'd walk into Mr. Mayor, just go give the family a blank check right now and sign it. Because we are about to be sitting on some major serious civil litigation. And also the problem is, too, is what you have is the way officers are trained. Because the officer could be trained to do what the officer has been taught. It's the training that's negligent. Because remember, not every situation is murder.
But why isn't that being admitted? See, the problem is that that's not being admitted.
I mean,
if people were transparent about some of the things that were happening on a state government, whatever level, local level, I think that would ease a lot of the pain. But the problem is like we're still gathering data, we're still getting information. Well, how long does it take when you got it on video?
Side of it too. See, the scripture says, "Out of the heart come the affairs of the man," and when you're dealing with the origin of law enforcement and police officers, do you know if you say overseer fast over and over again, it will eventually, your mouth will say officer, because the officer originated as a overseer that hunted down runaway slaves. And because of that, if you go back to the first police officers, Patty Wagon, do you know Patty Hearst? Do you know Patty is Irish because the Irish were the ones that used to hunt down the slaves? So the original Confederate-minded Caucasian is the first brand of police officer. Listen to what I'm saying.
But you know what?
Let me explain, what I'm saying.
But
Hold on.
I'm gonna ask you.
Some days a cigar is just a cigar.
Let me ask you this. I'm going for the rest of the show. Don't cut me off, and I won't cut you off. Can we make that agreement?
I'll make that agreement until the point where I think you're going off the reservation.
Now, what? Use your memory and hold on to your thought, and I'm gonna do the same. Otherwise, you're being disrespectful.
But
I'm saying.
But no, my friend. But if what you're trying to say,
if you're going to
okay,
talk
I'll
when
let
I
you finish.
talk, you're being disrespectful.
I'll let you finish, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Just keep it in your memory bank.
It's here.
So this is the known fact. Whether you're dealing with sociology, whether you're dealing with politics, the law under which a thing comes into existence gives that thing its nature and its function and purpose. When you look at the origin of where policing came from, it came from the Confederate-minded Caucasians that were overseeing and hunting down slaves. Unfortunately, the law under which that system came into existence has dictated the nature, purpose, and function of it, and to this day, law enforcement has been a magnet for a certain kind of mentality. It's a good old boys network that has been a magnet for certain kinds of white people that join law enforcement. So when you have these Confederate-minded people, even if you got a body cam, if you've got training, you cannot. A body cam can distort nature of the kind of person that you're dealing with. It can check them a little bit. Training can help restrict them and make them follow a script better. But at the end of the day, the nature of the personalities that are magnetized to law enforcement is the same overseer officers, the same chasers of the runaway slave mind. Those same kind of white boys are the ones that are magnetized for law enforcement.
So are you saying then that African Americans that join police departments have that same mindset?
I'm saying the black people in the police department are catching almost as much hell as the black people outside the police department from the white people inside of law enforcement.
And the black people inside of it.
They are experiencing the same grade of racism, and they are victims of the Good Old Boys Network right inside of the system. Why do you think they have a Black Police Officers Association? You don't need one unless you're not getting justice inside the one that already exists. So that is the reality, my brother. You're dealing with a nature, a function, and a purpose of a particular thing called law enforcement overseers.
So are you saying then that African American law enforcement officials are basically overseers?
I'm saying
yes or no?
That who is?
Are you saying that African American law enforcement officials are basically overseers?
They are being trained to be an overseer, just like their white counterpart. Now,
answer my question.
Now let me explain this though. Let me explain this. We have countless numbers of black police officers in this city that I communicate with, and all of them are experiencing the same hell that the black people outside from their own blue brethren inside of law enforcement. So what's the solution? The solution is take the tax dollars that we are given in our community and let's return to community policing. Take those black police officers that are in, the chiefs, the captains, the retired chiefs and captains, those black military officers that were in whatever branch of the military, and let's hire them to train the brothers in the streets that live in the community to police their own neighborhood. And let's go back to community policing. And I'm telling you, give these brothers in the neighborhood $27, $32 an hour to look out for the elderly and make sure that justice is established, and you will not have the blue on black crime. You won't even have the black on black crime, because the brothers know the brothers. So the math says this: we are headed to a point where this old paradigm of law enforcement, jurisprudence, politics, and education and government is on its way out. A whole new world is coming in.
I will have to respectfully as somebody who does all that on a daily basis, I will have to respectfully disagree with
you. Well, I'm saying this. We've been working for 400 years as black people trying to repair
Scripture.
Now it's time for us to work to replace.
I'm not a very religious person, so Scripture doesn't work here.
Well, that's historical fact. Historical fact. How long are we going to work to try to repair something to realize that it's not fixable and just go ahead and replace it altogether? So all of the argument and debate and conversation about how to change it, let's modify this rule here. No, it has to be completely destroyed and not repaired, but replaced. Education, politics, jurisprudence, government, and law enforcement, all of these systems has failed to service the needs of the people of the United States of America in general and black people in specific. So take that idea and write about, just do some research on community policing and tell me if I don't know what I'm talking about.
I'll tell you that right now. But see, number one, couple of things on your whole thing about community policing. I've always been a firm believer that law enforcement, that the relationship that law enforcement has with this community, and a lot of times when you see things sort of break down, the police action shooting was not the cause. It's like when somebody gets fired from a job. They don't get fired for the last thing, really, that they did. You get fired for all the other stuff you did. The last thing was just a straw that broke the camel's back, which is why you will notice that whenever there's been a police action shooting here in Indianapolis, and there's actually been several, you don't see the breakdown and that you see in some other places, because IMPD has actually had a very good relationship with a lot of people and a lot of communities and a lot of neighborhoods, which has mitigated a whole lot of that stuff. And they also meet and talk about these issues before they become problems. So I will argue what you see in a lot of communities is based on the fact that law enforcement doesn't communicate with the community that it serves. That's law enforcement.
That's part of the problem.
That's law enforcement 101.
Right.
Indianapolis, for the most part, has avoided that, because you don't see, like I said, some of the breakdown that you've seen in other places, because people actually do talk to each other. Number two, what IMPD has actually done under the last couple of chiefs is they went back and restructured, the sort of what's called the escalation scale. One is when I just give a lawful order, empty stop, versus 10, which is discharge a weapon. Because what some of the problems were is that the officers go from 1 to 8. It's like, whoa. Time out here. You don't go to 8. You go to 1, then maybe 2 or 3, and then 4 or 5, and so it's a scale. And so a lot of that has been done, to change the way that officers are trained. And that, like I said, once again, I can't speak to other communities because I don't live in other communities. I live here, and this is what I speak to. So a lot of things that you're talking about, while they may apply to other places, that is not Indianapolis.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you, because there's a lot of places like bigger cities, in some small cities like Baltimore and, L.A. and all these other places where the police department is actually getting away with a lot of these things, and they're not able to, obviously got more people, but they're not able to have a grasp on it, kind of like Indianapolis. I'm not saying that Indianapolis escapes this, but they are better. Indianapolis is we do have a better law enforcement agency, but the problem is if these other law enforcement agencies in other cities, bigger cities, and it gets exposed and it becomes media, TV, and they get away with these things that we feel like we need justice for, it's going to trickle down.
Yeah, and this is the other side. So part of the fact that those in the administrations of law enforcement here have been watching and observing the breakdown in communication between the brass, the patrolmen, and the people in the streets. So they have increased and done more. But the root of the problem, the reason you don't see as much uprising, this is a known fact, that where you find a city that black people in that city don't have as much personal economic hardship, they don't see a need for collective struggle. So there is a level of passiveness in the Indianapolis, Indiana black man here that causes us not to respond the way other cities respond. We don't have the same degree of passion and zealotness and soldier spirit that comes from being in survival mode and struggling economically, because the cost of living here is so low you can function. But you go to a city where black people are in personal economic hardship, they're always rubbing their hands and getting ready to do something to deal with the system that they know is oppressive. So we on a plantation where we only get beat with 3 stripes. And somebody else is on one to get beat with 9, so we think that we got a good plantation and good master, so we don't raise up and do nothing.
I will respectfully disagree with you on that, and the main reason being is that, first of all, I always believe that you get out of this world what you put into it. You have more opportunity in this country to be successful. I could sit down, develop an app on a computer for this little iPad right here, and make $1 bajillion selling it. You cannot do that anywhere else on this planet. You're only limited by your own will and your own initiative. Number 2, you just made the point that Indianapolis is actually the model.
No.
Because if people here feel like they got skin in the game and don't feel like they got to scratch and survive and struggle every day, I argue that's the kind of community I want to live in.
Yeah, but to be satisfied with second-class citizenship doesn't mean that you're making progress.
Listen what I'm saying. Here I'm about to cut you off, because I don't believe that me, my wife, my family have second-class citizenship.
Well, maybe you don't, but what I'm saying is for the masses of the people, whenever the cost of living is low in an environment, when you can get a home for relatively cheap, whenever it don't take a lot to function in Indianapolis, that lack of personal economic struggle denies in the mind the need for collective political or social fights. That is a known social fact. So because we don't have the economic hardship yet, we're not prosperous. Black people in America, in Indianapolis or America, are not prosperous like we should be.
African Americans have billions of dollars worth of spending power in this country.
Yes, but listen to this though. We right now, do you know that if a black person graduates from Yale and a white person graduates from Yale, same time with the same degree, same grades in the same field, that when both of them integrate into the economic system of America, that black man will only get 60% of the salary of his white counterpart. And here's
why I will tell you
why.
Let
me explain this to you.
Go right ahead. I promise I'll let you finish.
So we still are in a system where we have to work twice as hard to get half as much. And even though we have an amendment saying we're not 3/5 of a human being, we still get the 3/5 the pay. But now, flip side, look at the prison stats. White man and black man commit the same crime. And when that white man and black man commit the same crime at the same time in the same city, that white man is going to get 60% the sentence of the black counterpart. So when it comes to economics, we get 3/5 the pay. But when it comes to incarceration, we get 3/5 more time than the white counterpart. So we can't operate, Brother Shabazz, under this illusion of inclusion, that we actually are moving in America on an even playing field. Black and white people don't have an even playing field here. This is the white man's world that we live in.
Okay, let me answer that. Okay, first of all, no question about, you said the thing about Yale. And it's interesting you bring that up, because I occasionally go back to law school and I talk to young African-American law students. Just kind of give them, hey, here's how real life works, blah, 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 blah. One thing that African-Americans have not had instilled in them is this whole thing of networking. Number one, because I can assure you that white guy who graduated from Yale, his dad knows somebody or the uncle knows somebody, and they have built a network of knowing people. Trust me on this one.
I'm agreeing with you, but I'm going to tell you why.
Now I'm going to tell you this. What I tell the African-American students is, unfortunately, a lot of you guys are either going to be the first or second generation that have come out of whatever institution, institution of higher learning. So here's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to build a little bit more, you got to do a little bit more of an expansive network if you don't already have the context that you need to get ahead. But you know what? Once you get them, kids, sky's the limit.
Yeah, but see, you,
And it also goes back to your thing about the judicial system. I had a nephew perpetually getting in trouble. Dude, what resources do you have to afford the attorney? None. So what the hell are you doing?
right?
Because here's newsflash. You called me, I'm going to send your ass to jail. Because that's where you belong. That's where you should have been a long time ago.
Right. Well, this is the problem with that math, is that, see, the 4 levels of human existence are survival, stability, success, and then significance. Because white people in America, listen to this, they had 400 years of free slave labor to build up their real estate, their stocks, their bonds, their mutual funds. So you done had over 200 million people working for you for 400 years for free. And now you got white people that have generational wealth. So hell, even if I do network, I'm connected to somebody that's a generation or two above me that's just as broke as I am. But whenever you're dealing with a group of people that literally became rich and powerful off of the blood, sweat, and tears of black people working from can't see morning to can't see night on the plantation, cotton then was the most traded commodity like oil is now. And that's what we were picking for them, getting paid nothing. So the math is that they have generational wealth where they can pass on to their offspring a really a legacy of resources, connections, and all of the things that's necessary for success. But when we come up, you said it, we first term in the game trying to do it. But if we were ever to get just a little bit of what we would justly do in the form of reparations, where if we could just get the 40 acres and a mule, or in this case, the 40 acres and a John Deere that was promised to us, 46 million of us with 40 acres, we'd have a nation.
I will take the reparations, but I won't take a check. I want direct deposit.
No, I don't want money at all, because money is meaningless.
Well, land.
I want land. That's why it's called real estate. Ain't but 57,255,000 square miles of that. You can print money any day from the trees that grow on my land.
I'll take the money and invest in the stock market.
Well, that's fine.
I'll build my wealth there.
See, my mind is the hell with Dow Jones and the hell with the NASDAQ. The hell with mutual funds and 401k. Give me the land, because from the land I can get the cotton to make my clothes. I can have cows to get the leather to make my shoes. I can put my vegetables and fruit, and I can feed my family. I can grow trees and cut it down, turn it into lumber and timber, and then make 2x4s and build me a house. And you can't take that. It's mine. So I'm saying that to say this, that my brother, that let's not operate. You're black. And at the end of the day,
I'm aware of that when I look in the mirror.
At the end, but keep remembering this: black is not just a color. Black is color, consciousness, and a correct connection with your Creator. Not saying you don't have a correct connection to your Creator, and I know you have the black color. But the third thing that I'm speaking of, consciousness, means that you are woke. You are aware of the reality of what it means to operate black in America. Don't close your eyes and put on blinders and act like white people are not treating black people different in the United States of America, because that's not the case.
I will argue, my friend, at the end of the day, you make your own destiny.
Well, my mindset is the same, but I'm saying that to say this. See, we do have $1.1 trillion coming in. We have had that for the last 3 years. We're not poor, we're just disconnected. But why do we feel a need to be disconnected? It's because there has been deep embedded self-hatred breeded into us by the public school system, educational system of this country, that has taught black people. See, the only thing you learn about black people in school is from the cotton field to the current.
Slavery.
Or the plantation to the present. You don't learn nothing about us before we were kidnapped, Caucasianized, and westernized by the white man. All we know is from slavery up until now. That's why you can have somebody singing a song talking about we started from the bottom. Now we're here because you think we actually made some progress, but we don't know what the pharaohs lived like. We haven't seen King Tut. We didn't study Shaka Zulu and Queen Nzinga and Nefertiti. We haven't looked at the great legacy of Imhotep. We never were taught that. So because of the self-hatred we have, think about this. It's so deep that we don't even see ourselves worthy of working to unite with.
But once again, though, my friend, then why is it that when certain segments of the African-American community do relatively well or work with, quote-unquote, the establishment, it's crabs in a barrel. My friends at the 10-Point Coalition this past Friday raised about $150,000 to do crime prevention, get ex-offenders jobs, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
The vitriol that I saw on Facebook going after these guys by people who raised a damn dime, period, was ridiculous.
Did you understand?
Did you hear what I just said about self-hatred?
No, I heard you. But then again, these are the people, but remember, these are the same people who say it because you guys aren't, quote-unquote, black enough, because you don't have the black conscience. How could you dare have the Vice President of the United States, clear his schedule, hold on a second, clear his schedule to come here to help you raise money that's going to go back in the community to help uplift people?
That's not the argument. I think the argument here, from the perspective of those who are inquiring about the 10-Point Coalition, is what are they doing with the money? Because on the ground, in the communities, you got people who live on the outskirts in nice houses and around folks that are wealthy and all that stuff. And then you have the people in the community who see what's going on, who see the injustice and the criminality and the things that's going on. So,
but they can't be more on the ground unless they have the resources to do it. The limited resources that they have right now.
But you have to listen to the people who live in those communities.
No, they operate in basically three areas of the city is where they operate.
Only three.
Only three, because that's all they have the limited resources to do. And in those three areas,
there's other groups that can help them. They have to open their doors to invite them.
I'm going to say this because Reverend Harrison is my brother, and see, my mindset is that I'm going to celebrate anybody that's trying to do good, period, irregardless of creed, class, or color. And definitely when my brothers are trying to do something good, I'm going to celebrate them. Does that mean that what they're doing is perfect? No, we know it's not. But I'm not going to be on social media attacking my brother. I will speak directly to my brother and listen, offer suggestions and ideas, and if he wants to do it the way he wants to do it, that's his right. But I'm saying that the condition of black people cannot be solved by the 10-Point Coalition, the 11-point, 12-point, the 1,000-point. I don't care how many points. No, it's this condition of us. We need all hands on deck.
Yes,
Actually,
now listen to this.
What folks need is a two-parent household and a kick in the ass is what most people
need. All two-parent homes aren't that great.
See, the thing is this. See, I want to say this, that parenthood, motherhood, and fatherhood is what makes parenthood. The hood is the piece of fabric that's attached to the back of a shirt, coat, or a jacket, meaning it covers the head. So when you say motherhood, fatherhood, and parenthood, even if two people are in the house, if they don't have the right knowledge under their head, under the hood, they don't know motherhood, fatherhood.
Then I'll alter my statement and go what I usually say was a responsible two-parent.
Now that sounds a lot more better. But see, responsibility only comes when you have the ability to respond. That's why you invert it. So I'm saying that we are in need, Brother Shabazz, we are in need of teaching and training. We have never been taught the adequate life skills as a people, and we have not been given the knowledge of people that look like us that have accomplished great feats in the past that will lift our morale and boost our, not self-esteem, but our self-worth. See, self-esteem is what you think about yourself based off of how other people see you. But self-worth is what you think about yourself based off of what you see when you look in the mirror, because what God said about you.
Your value.
And you get that whenever you start getting a thorough knowledge of self. So the ideal image of a father, mother, a nuclear family, some of those networking brothers and sisters, you'll find that operating inside the Nation of Islam with the brothers and sisters here. What happened though? We got a knowledge of self.
Right.
And see, knowledge of self produces love for self. When you love yourself, you start doing for yourself. And since you're my brother, base word of brother is other, you're my other self. So if I love me if I know me, love me, and I'm doing right by me, I'm gonna treat my other me the same way.
Absolutely.
So that kills the crabs in the barrel mentality.
I just do what
that
parents always
removes
taught me, which
envy.
is treat people the way you want to be treated.
Right. And I'm saying that to say that if you were blessed to have a strong father and a strong mother that had the ability to respond and then work their responsibility to raise you in a way that you can make it to a level above the general population. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it like this. He said, no one man can rise above the condition of his people. So at the end of the day, we are all connected. So I'm not happy to have money in my pocket and see my brother broke.
But
I'm not happy to be successful and see my brothers not being successful.
But would you not agree, though, my friend? If we are all connected, we all play a role in uplifting everybody. And we all have different. I'm sorry. Get away from the microphone.
You good?
I've been in the radio damn near 20 years.
Yeah.
Speak of the microphone, Andy.
I was gonna say that.
Speak of the microphone, dumbass.
You good?
I mean, if we're all interconnected, then you would agree that we all have a role to play in some fashion or another. And we're all individuals, and people can play different roles and contribute in different ways. So why is it that if somebody like me comes along and says, hey, you know what? I want you to keep more of your own tax money. The money that you make, you should keep most of the government should take as little as possible. Okay. Number two, I want you to be able to choose the type of school, that works best for you and your family. So if it's public school, charter school, private school, religious school, you should have that choice.
Pro-choice.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I want to make sure that when you put money away and when you die, here's the newsflash: the government doesn't take most of it. That you can actually pass that along to your family, to your children. I started talking this. People look at me like I just grew a third arm.
Yeah, that's because they've not been taught. And he's said that several times.
I mean, this is Booker T. Washington. This is self-help. This is damn near 100 years old.
See, those are good points. But once a person identifies themselves, say, I am a Democrat. Or I am a member of the Republican. You understand? See what I'm saying? There's a whole lot of other things that each party believes in that are not the same as what you just said. Some of those things that you said are congruent with doing for self and being responsible. But there's other things that are in the contract or are part of the belief system of the parties that is in violation of what's moral, what's right, and what's good for us as a people. So the mindset I think we should have. See, Jewish people are not Democrat or Republican. Jewish people are Jewish people. And the jackass, the mule, is a mode of transportation, and so is the elephant. So they ride the Democratic Party to get what they want, and they ride that jackass to get what they want. Our problem is we want to live on the elephant.
Yeah.
Live on the donkey. Use it as a mode of transportation to get what we want.
I'm going to shock all of you and be 100% in agreement with my colleague here.
Okay.
I always said it's time for black people to start acting like the NRA.
Well, let's get where's the applause?
Yeah. I've maintained this from day one, which is instead of 85% of you voting Democrat and the other 15% voting Republican, you ought to start voting like the NRA. What's your issue? What's your interest? Then whoever supports your issues and your interests, then that's who you back. Giving all your votes to one person, all he's going to do is take you for granted. Giving none of your votes for this person, all he's going to do is ignore you. And newsflash, one of these days, the other guy's going to be in charge.
So that's why. So ultimately, I'm saying that to say this: that whenever politics is a power distribution center. But before you can be involved in it, you have to have some power that can be distributed. So the Asians, every major city, Brother Shabazz, we've been to maybe 50 cities, 50, 60 cities a year. I always ask, how many Asians do you all have in school board? None. How many Asians do you have in city council? None. How many Asians do you have in state? None. I said, yeah, but there's a little Korea, there's Chinatown, and in every major city, the Asian people, they have power, but they're not in politics. We're in politics and don't have no power. Maybe we need to take a page from their book and let's get some power.
I've always said,
and then we can use these as modes of transportation.
I've always said, vote with your dollars.
So now what has to happen is this: is there has to be serious thought put into the development of our own political machine, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. He didn't say party. Machine. Machine is something used to build. Machine is something used to construct. Machine is something used to defend and destroy whatever needs to be. We need a machine.
But the thing is going to be, when you build the machine, you cannot denigrate the people that have a different idea of what the machine should look like.
Right. Well, this is
we could have been and done that. We haven't done that
yet. but there's a consensus. There's a consensus that we can take. That the Jewish people, as you just said, what they do, whenever anybody running for president, whoever's running, put their yarmulke on. They're gonna put that on, and they're gonna go to the ADL. They're going to go to B'nai B'rith. They're going to go to the southern province. They're going to stand in front of them, and they're going to say, this is what we're going to do for Israel, and this is what we're going to do for the Jewish American people. But how many of them have put on a dashiki and came to our community and said it? And guess what the Jewish people do? They have a list. These are the 80 things that we want, and these are the 70 things we need. 70 has to be agreed to, and some of 80, how much are you willing to do? And whichever one, red or blue, or even green, Democrat, Republican, it don't make no, whichever one is willing to live up to that which serves their people, that's the one they say, yeah, this is going to be the one that we're going to vote. And then, Brother Shabazz, you know this, when they put them in, they don't walk away.
You got to hold people accountable.
Hold them accountable.
Yeah.
See, that's why what I find most offensive is right around election time when politicians start showing up in church. It's like, where the hell you been the other 2, 4
years? Trying to win the vote.
6 years.
The black vote.
It's like, you've been gone for 6 years. Like, oh my God, it's election time. Time to start showing up. I'm like, why do you guys let these people in here?
Right. I don't even think it's the pastors. I think it's politicians weeding them in. And these pastors realizing that, hey, you know, I can grow my fan base or grow my dollars or grow my whatever if I jump on board with this person. So to me, there were some opportunities being taken advantage of. But the real part of this is that a lot of these guys and a lot of these politicians really don't. I mean, I can't say that they all don't care. There are some that genuinely care. But I think as you get in that ladder, as you climb to the top and you start seeing what it really is, you succumb to whatever it is. And you know, so I'm in agreement with
and
you know,
if you're
going
to be in leadership, you have to put the sheep above your own life. See, the good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. And if anybody, listen what I'm saying, if you in politics, if you in the pulpit, if you in leadership and you're not willing to die and kill for your people, then you're not qualified to be in leadership. So anybody that's a politician, if you say that you're going to do this, I don't want you writing that in ink. I want it signed in blood. And if you sign it in blood, that's the way we have to make contracts. Sign it in blood. See, we say in the nation that my word is my bond, and bond is life, and I will give my life before my word shall fail. That means the only way that I don't do what I said I'm going to do is if I'm dead. If I don't make it, when I said I was going to make it, I'm going to keep doing it until I'm dead. That's the mindset. And if we hold those accountable to blood, you do it or you die. And then if you're willing to sign in blood, then we can trust that you more than likely are going to do some good. As we just seen with the president, yeah, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that even the devil will do good under the gun. He wasn't talking about no physical weapon that shoots bullets. He was talking about the gun or the force and power and fire
pressure
that comes from unity. When you put so he come out now, and you
say something.
But I'm saying that you know, if you elect the devil for the president, expect hell to be the environment that comes. We're looking at the materialization of words that have been put out into the atmosphere for nearly 3 years of campaigning, now reaching its peak.
Yeah.
So this is he didn't give an instruction to do none of the stuff that's being done, but he emboldened and empowered them with the kind of rhetoric that he used, and now we're looking at it. But you know what? Crazy as that, I like it. I like it. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he said Trump is a much needed wind. And it's gonna take unfortunately, brothers and sisters, words are not going to bring us together.
Right.
It's going to take some whoopings. The
Right.
best will come from the word, but the rest will come from a whooping. And the more that we begin to be whooped politically, socially, economically, and unfortunately, physically, the more we're going to say, you know what, let's come on together.
Yeah.
I was not a Donald Trump person, was not a Hillary Clinton person, but I tell people when you don't vote, don't complain about the results you get.
Okay. You know what?
People stayed home, and As Barack Obama said,
24% of America put Donald Trump in office.
As Barack Obama said, elections have consequences, and now you got to live with them.
Can I put this out in the atmosphere too?
Sure.
You know, when we were pushing for the Justice of Else 10-10-15, everybody was asking, "Are you going?" And not voting is a vote. It is a vote against the entire system.
Right.
What you're saying is that you're not going to put two devils in front of me. Either I'm voting for Satan or Lucifer, the dragon or Beelzebub, the lesser of two evils. No, I'm not voting for evil, period. So whenever, you know, did you know that people in power use black people's voter participation as a litmus test to determine how much we still believe in the power structure that exists in America?
And it's still an act.
So whenever it's called boycotting.
Right.
So when you withhold, what you're saying is that I am protesting politics as it is practiced. Therefore, I ain't casting a vote. It wouldn't. If Hillary would have got in, it would have been the same hell. She just would have made it sound better.
Right.
But once again, you don't vote, you get the government you deserve.
Okay.
This is mine now. Voting locally is better. I really don't think that we have much control over, especially some towns, some small towns. I don't even know how they get on electoral college. They're not even enough people to. But anyways, I really feel like voting is important, but I really think that it's more important voting locally. So, you know, in the county for which you live in.
Is the one that can reach into your pocket the quickest and take your money.
See, good. See, that's so. And tell me this: is there not a saying that all politics is local? So, you know, if all politics is local, the national election is something that really every president was selected before they were elected.
You know,
so it is a whole different shadow government that operates, that manipulates systems, and it's about those that have the greatest. It's that 1% that has the 50% of the wealth. It's the Rothschilds, it's the Carnegies, the Assagens, it's the DuPonts, it's the 8 royal families, it's the Committee of 300, the Bilderbergers, Illuminati, whatever name you want to slap on.
Don't forget the tentacles of Odessa.
Well, yeah, whatever name you want to slap on them. It's some white folks up there that got plenty of bread that buy whoever they want to buy. So, you know, if we can look at the candidates that we see running, then you pick some, but don't let them, like you said, don't let them come to church and tell you what you want to hear and then get in there and don't do what they were supposed to do.
You know what, Brother Nuri, you touched on something, and I'll paraphrase, but you basically said that it's important to destroy and rebuild. I mean, do you think by Trump being in office that is good for us? Because he's going to lead into that process. Because we're seeing, you know, possibly, you know, I'm 36 years old, and I've seen the most racism that I think I've ever seen, you know, other than just hearing these stories, man, from my mother and my grandparents. I mean, I've been actually seeing it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say this, that the minister said that Trump is that white president for white people that will do what it takes to bring on the war that will end all wars. He's going to bring in such a system that war will break out one day, but after that war, white supremacy will be no longer in power. So, you know, if it has to get bad before it gets better, let it get bad. Right. If people have to die for generations after us to have a real life, then please count me in one of those ones that is willing yesterday to be buried in the grave, to see my people in a better situation. The reason that the minister used the language about Trump being a much-needed wind, if you look at the Bible in Ezekiel 37, it says the Son of Man was speaking to the bones. He only asked them two things.
Valley of dry bones, yeah.
Unite, stand up. Unite mean come together, stand up mean be moral, be right, do things like you should. The bones shook, the bones rattled. So the Son of Man went to his Lord and said, Lord, I've been speaking to the bones all the days. They've shook and they've rattled, but they have not come together nor have they stood up. And the Lord told the Son of Man, stop speaking to the bones and start speaking to the winds, and let the winds whip them into shape. And the winds, when he said much needed wind, it's the certain kind of person that's going to produce certain climate that's going to bring out all of the hidden racism that has been supplanted and tucked away, and now it's being manifest. We know how you've been thinking. 63 million people voted for that man. That's not an indictment on him. That's an indictment on a whole bunch of people that think like him. So now, when the wind began to blow, according to Ezekiel 37, it says that the bones came together. They stood up, and they became an exceedingly great army. Not a choir, not a church, not a book club, but an army. So we are in a situation where there is going to be an increase of the military mind and the warrior spirit that is already innate in this generation we're dealing with right now. This is the most fearless generation that has ever lived. And we came out of the second most fearless generation. Now this new one, they don't fear nothing. So whenever we can marry that fearlessness with some good guidance, after the wind starts blowing, we're going to unite, we're going to stand up, we're going to be an exceedingly great army, and we will be able to be builders of a whole new reality. I know it's hard to see, because we don't even see enough black home ownership, enough black business but there will be a world one day run by the original people again, where all people will live together in harmony and peace with one another. Coming soon to a ghetto near you.
Brother Shabazz, what's your perspective on that?
I got the question. No, I'm kidding.
My bad, sis.
I mean, like college all over again. 3 o'clock in the morning. No special mushrooms.
Oh my God! Here you go. Here you go.
I just put that on your Facebook page, so it's just like college all over again. I mean, no. I mean, at the end of the day, I always tell people, vote your interests. What's important to you? And for me, it is my pocketbook. I do not apologize for being selfish, self-absorbed. 'Cause at the end of the day, only person taking care of me and my wife and dog is going to be me and my wife and my dog. That is my priority. Now, will I try to help people along the way? Sure. But our priority right now is us. And if you want to talk about moving forward as people, that's what your priority is going to have to be. Your priority is going to have to be you, which means you got to stop throwing your vote away, holding people accountable. You know, if Republicans are going to come to you and promise you this, then damn it, make them deliver it. You know, if Democrats are going to promise you this, hold them to close personal friend is the governor, Eric Holcomb. He actually, during the water crisis with East Chicago with the tainted water, made numerous trips up there to make sure that people had the services that they needed and the government was actually held accountable. When the mayor of Gary, Indiana, holds a fundraiser for a Republican governor because they are so grateful that people are actually attending to their needs, and it's not just lip service. So, no, we like you, we'll show up, we'll wave, and then we'll, take off again and never come back. I mean, that to me is what you want in your elected officials. Like I said, whether it's your local people, whether it's your state rep, school board, city council member. There's a gentleman of the Indianapolis City County Council, Joe Simpson, represents kind of near downtown. Joe is the only Democrat to vote against giving a $13 an hour, a raise up to $13 an hour for some of the poorest, lowest paid city employees. A lot of those folks who live in his district. This guy also voted against mass transit. Had some problems with that, which is, by the way, to get the people in your district to work, to where the jobs are, at the warehouses like at Avon and up north. So I'm like, wait a second. Why do people keep voting for this guy over and over and over again? When obviously he's not voting for your interests. So to piggyback on my friend here, just because everybody may look like you and have a nice song and dance doesn't mean, my grandmother always said, when the devil comes back, it won't be with horns and a pitchfork. It's going to be with a nice suit and, talking real nice to you, which is what my father-in-law said about me to my wife, oddly. But she still married me, nonetheless, so sometimes it does work. No, but at the end of the day, if you have to vote your interests, and I will have some maybe implementation disagreements with my friend Nuri Muhammad here. By the way, I actually went to Temple number 2 till 3rd grade when a Sister Claire Muhammad school.
Beautiful.
Didn't work, but went there, as you can tell.
Well, it's in you. It's gonna be activated.
Yeah.
The wind is gonna keep getting it. Don't worry about it. It's coming back.
As long as I mess up my hair. No, at the end of the day, you got to put yourself first. Put your people first, put your group first. If you don't, nobody else is going to do it for you. As a matter of fact, I would argue nobody else is supposed to do it for you.
But don't you think, in respect to that, don't you think that the majority does that when it comes to most of the things that's happening in this country? If you grew up a certain way, right? And, you grew up, let's just use this as an example. You're a Caucasian person, grew up in a family or town full of Caucasian people. There's no relation to anything outside of that. Even if you grew up in Carmel, Noblesville, Carmel, high school, Fishers, there's, and I'm not, I'm just using those as an example because there are people that I meet in the job force every day, and I talk to them, and they've never shooken a black person's hand, never went to school with them, never had a friend in them. And these are the ones who have this position where it's all about us and, I'm going to look out for my brother before I look out for you because I don't know what you're going to do to me. All they've seen is news, media, which is why we exist, is because we want to be another truth in media. We don't want to sugarcoat anything. We want to give it to you raw and uncut. Yep. And, but there's a lot of, the news and media out there have been able to project these different things, inviting these things into people's homes because that's the only news source that they have. And now we have a world full of people who don't understand each other. So this is where we are, where now Black Lives Matter has become...
The biggest tragedy of the 21st century is we have more information at our fingertips than any other generation in the history of mankind.
Right, true.
And we're still some of the most stupid-ass people on this freaking planet. I'm like, you've
got... Or are we just finding out how are we not stupid? Because we're finding out now that a lot of the stuff that we've been told is a lie.
I would argue this. It's kind of like my rule I have on Facebook when somebody sends me something. I have what's called a 3-click rule. Some of you guys may be old enough to remember this old Tootsie Pop commercial.
Yeah. How many licks
Yeah,
does it take?
yeah, Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get the Tootsie Roll? And the mouse goes 3, 1, 2, then he bites and takes the whole guy, 3. I have a 3-click rule on Facebook. If anybody sends me any story, any link, if I got to click more than 3 times to get to the actual story, that is what I consider fake news. Okay. And so part of what behooves us, and I always tell people, never go speak to groups, is you have to be smart consumers of news and information. Number one, I feel for anybody. I was homesick one day, and all I had on was cable news, and I was ready to shoot myself by the end of the day. Because, in a 24-hour news cycle, you got to fill 24 hours a day. So stuff that nobody would care about, now becomes a big deal. That we're spending like a whole hour, talking about, Scaramucci and blah, 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 blah. It's like, you've got to be frigging kidding me. So it behooves us, like I said, whether I tell people, read your Final Call, read Chapel Star, read your Wall Street Journal. I tell people, read as much as you can. So at the very least, you come armed with information that you may at least be able to ask a question. That'll make us somewhat smarter, somewhat more intelligent. We don't have to agree because 4 people can see the same car accident and walk away with 4 different stories, depending on where you're standing. That's why one of the theories is your books of the Bible, your Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. It's like 4 people looking at a different event from 4 different perspectives, which is why you get some inconsistencies, but the general story is still fundamentally the same. So that's why I came on here today, because I appreciate what you guys do.
Yes. Thank you.
Which is providing people.
Appreciate you, man, for coming.
No problem. Another information, another outlet, and another source of information. So, I mean, hell, after our good friend Amos Brown is gone, where else are you going to find me and Nuri Muhammad sitting in the same place? Not going to just get this guy a martini and a cigar, he'd be fine.
Ain't gonna happen. But
that means you'd be my designated driver. See, that's even better.
No, I ain't driving no car, no bike, and I ain't smoking or drinking. But not well. The point too is this. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said this, 1991. He mentioned something that I had never heard of or looked at like this. He mentioned a concept called the dumbing down of America. And in the breakdown in a book that he wrote called Torchlight for America, he deals with how the mind of the Caucasian and the mind of the black person has been neglected by the miseducation. So
both sides.
So right now you have black and white children start school the same way. If a mother drops their child off in preschool, the black child holds mama's leg, so does the white child. Neither one of them want to go, and you have to peel them off. And when they walk away, and they have their head down, they're moving real slow and timid. But if you notice that as that same black and white child begins to matriculate through 12 years of the public school, that white child walks out of 12 years with his chest out, head held high, ready to conquer the known world. And whenever the little black boy, not only is his head down now, but his pants is down too. What happened though? All through the script, they were taught the same thing. They were taught about George Washington, a white man. Abraham Lincoln, a white man. Plato, Aristotle, Thales, Pythagoras, Einstein, Newton, white man. So whenever you have something in common with a thing, you compare yourself to it. When you compare yourself, they become a goal. The goal feeds your desire feeds your will helps you achieve it. Right. So the black child has not been taught, and neither has that white child, been taught the true history of the world. If both of them were taught the true history of the world, then you would see that white child would leave the school. He may still have his chest out and his head held high, but he would also bow when he seen the greatness of the original people. And that little black boy, that little black girl would walk out with their chest held high, head up, ready to go out and conquer the known world because they've learned about somebody that looks like them. So the educational process, if it's going to be public education, it should be true. You know, so it's a lot of dynamics to it, but both the black and the white mind needs to be taught the truth. Right. It is not black knowledge or white knowledge. It is the truth that will make you free. So that's the math. Right. And because they've been fed really a stolen legacy. They are operating off of artificial information about white greatness that didn't even exist.
Would you both agree that now in today's time, there's equally as many Caucasians angry as there are African Americans because they both have come to a place where, why didn't nobody tell me about this?
Here's why
my family did, or I didn't do that. My ancestors did that.
Here's why a lot of people are angry and upset. And to figure it out, you actually have to go back to 1970 because that is when All in the Family first appeared on television. A lot of people think that the Archie Bunker character in All in the Family was a prejudiced bigot. Actually, no. Archie Bunker was a working class guy who was afraid of change because the world is changing around him. You know, he's got the daughter living with the boyfriend. You know, back then when it's like, oh my God, how can people live together without, you know, being married? You got the Jeffersons moving in next door. You know, the neighborhood's changing. And what you will find with a lot of people is they are afraid of change.
Yeah.
Because the world that a lot of our parents and people we know grew up in is gone. And it is never coming back. Whereas before, you could, you know, you lived in a small town, you go down to the bank and, you know, say hi to the teller, take money. You know what? Do it on my telephone.
Yeah.
Order tickets on my telephone. Never have to interact with another human being. Take the, you know, people talk about, you know, the manufacturing sector and, you know, manufacturing jobs going away and blaming Mexicans. No. All the data shows that you're more likely to lose your job to a machine.
Technology.
100 years ago, my great-grandfather worked in a factory. All you needed was a strong back and a good work ethic, and your job was to move boxes from one end of the factory to the loading dock. 30 years later, somebody builds a forklift. Now I can move a lot more boxes. Then guess what? Somebody builds a crane. And now I can move a lot. Now it's a guy sitting at a computer somewhere in Omaha, Nebraska, and the computer's now moving all the boxes. So guess what? The labor that was needed don't need it anymore because your world has changed. And I think what you saw in the last election, which actually Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders are kind of cut from the same cloth, is telling people who felt disenfranchised that quote unquote the system wasn't working for them anymore that it's not your fault. It's either the rich guy's fault or it's the minority people's fault. It's fundamentally the same thing. It's go back to your days in college when people would protest on the quad on Friday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, put down everybody's sign and then walk across the street and pick up the other sign and start protesting because they're all complaining, you know, about the same administration. So at the end of the day, you have to figure out, you know, why people just are, you know, people afraid, scared of change. The good news is that eventually a lot of these people are going to die because people like us, you know, Gen X, millennials, and, you know, my nieces and nephews, change happens to us like that all the time. And to us, it's no big deal. You know what? If I could go to McDonald's and order my food through a kiosk and never have to talk to one of those people ever again, I would do it tomorrow. Unfortunately, somebody's going to be out of a job.
So what do you think is going to save us as a people? You stated that you're not a very spiritual person, but you talk about finances and money and things like that. So what do you think is going to save us as a people?
At the end of the day, I will argue what will save you is a sense of what I call enlightened self-interest. Doing something not only because it's the right thing to do, but because also you get a benefit out of it. There's a reason why I go to schools, and I don't really say inner city because I don't think Indianapolis really has a quote-unquote inner city per se, and talk to young kids. Why? Well, number one, it helps them see a positive male role model.
Okay.
Number one, particularly when a lot of them may not necessarily have one.
Okay.
Number two, anything you guys want to achieve, it is well within the realm of possibility. Number three, I don't want you to grow up to be criminals because I don't want you breaking into my house, taking my stuff, and raising my taxes. To have to build the prison infrastructure that is going to have to put you somewhere. So guess what? I get the benefit of productive citizens.
You're speaking in general, not just black
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
right?
just
Okay.
generally speaking. Yeah.
Okay.
I just use that as the
Sure.
most recent example that I did.
For sure.
Same thing when having a conversation with younger ladies, like, hey guys, there's kind of a reason you keep your legs closed.
Sure.
Because state doesn't need another Medicaid baby that taxpayers are going to have to foot the bill for the next 18 years. And number two, why would you want to put yourself in that position? Because guess what? Once that baby gets here, your life is pretty much, as you know it, over, because that's going to have to be your priority. So guess what? Going out with your friends, that ain't going to happen anymore. But wife's niece just, had a kid. It's like, we love you, but that's not our responsibility, darling. That's kind of yours now. We'll make sure you guys don't starve, but we're not in the babysitting business.
Right. What I realized about that is that logic is, it's almost like, I did it, why couldn't you do it? But see, the problem is that there's no underneath, there's no carriage, there's no structure.
But that is
to
why,
get to that point.
Yeah, but that is why people
that.
like me, we volunteer our time.
Okay.
Because in a lot of places, people don't have, we're fortunate, blessed, lucky, take whatever metaphor, you want to use.
Sure.
So, hey, you know what? Why not help somebody else? Because to me, we're not censored here, are we? We can say whatever you want. There's no money in being an asshole.
Right.
So why be an asshole? If the school calls, hey, Abdul, could you come talk to our government students, whether it's like Plainfield, Kokomo, IPS, Decatur? Sure. I am more than happy to stay here as long as you guys want, answer whatever questions you want. I'll go talk to Sertoma clubs, the old blue hairs, whatever, because also what it does is it helps dispel some of the negative images I see on TV. There's a well-spoken African-American. Like, well, what am I, mentally challenged?
Would you do those things for free?
Yeah, he did do it for free. He got money from other stuff.
Well, actually, it depends on the group. If it is a not-for-profit group, I'll do it for free.
Okay.
If it's a for-profit group, you're damn skippy you're paying.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to I wanted to try to answer that.
Okay.
See, before we were kidnapped and brought to America, we used to have certain axioms that we governed ourselves with as a people. One of those, we've heard people say it a lot, each one, teach one. Well, that's a system of the distribution of information, one generation to the next. But when you have broken that cycle for so long like we have, now it's not each one teach one, it's each one teach some. Right. Another axiom that we had, and we all believe, whether you are Muslim, Christian, we all believe that our responsibility is to the next generation coming after us. In fact, the word father and the word farther is really the same word, just an R added to it. So the job of a father is to make their sons and daughters go farther than what they went. So all of us have, so we had a saying though, it takes a village to raise a child. Not a good mama and a good daddy, but a whole village. It takes the uncles, the aunties. It takes everybody in that community to raise that child. But see, it takes a village to raise a child, but we never ask the question, what does it take to raise a village? And I submit that it takes a messenger of God, a man anointed and appointed by God to come and teach the village how to be so that they can raise those children. I believe that if you study the scripture, there's a verse in Malachi 3:6 that says that I am the Lord, I do not change. That means that he has a pattern, and his pattern, God's pattern, is consistent. Where there's a mess, a messenger comes. Whenever there's a problem, prophets come. Whenever there's a war, a warner comes to stop the war. When there's a crisis, then Christ is. So when we have a condition like we are in right now, we have met up to black people in America all of the qualifications for God to do for us what he did for the people of Egypt, Palestine, wherever you look at in the world that a messenger, we deserve one. We've earned one. And I believe that God raised a man named the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he has a chief student, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and in their mind and in the way that they break down the Bible, the Quran, and the science of life, that is what it takes to raise the village, so that the village can raise the children. And I think that we're going to, unfortunately, have to be whooped into place where we start respecting the blessing of such a great teacher that we have in our midst. And I think that will be phase one. Because after you know what to do, that ain't enough. After you know what to do, you got to do what you know.
Got to action.
Yeah.
Now-
I had a question for Abdul.
Sure.
So it sounds like when you're communicating, when it comes to our people, going back to Pat's question, the communication to me seems a little different versus towards your demographic that you serve in media, white people. So it sounds like the message, I guess, to your demographic is self-sufficiency, the concept of doing for self and so forth. All those things we talked about. But when it comes to our people, it's a conversation of a deficit.
Yeah, about crime and
It sounds like there's because the question was what can we do to help ourselves? So since you have that platform, it's more of a deficit conversation versus the opposite to your viewers, to your demographic.
Now, my message is pretty consistent across the board. I mean, whenever I go out and give a speech, the beginning and the end might change, depending on the audience, but the fundamentals are still exactly the same. Whenever I talk to predominantly African-American audiences, I do adjust my message accordingly because there are some things culturally and socially that these kids are going to have to deal with that a predominantly majority audience won't necessarily have to.
So you don't think a predominantly majority white audience has an issue of not keeping their legs closed or not having Medicaid children or being on welfare? And
I give that speech across the board.
Okay.
Because when I talk to people, because whenever somebody asks me, what the biggest state issue is going to be, it's going to be healthcare and Medicaid.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, one out of every 3 babies in Indiana is born to Medicaid. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't matter the color.
Yeah, it doesn't matter the color. One out of every 3 births is either 1 out of every 3 or about to become 1 out of every 2. And that is unsustainable, as a state and as anybody who is a taxpayer. I mean, that's just a fact.
Okay.
Now, we had something personal happen in our family that once again brought that message home. It's like, God, here we go again. I mean, this not good for you. It's not good for the kids. It's not good for the taxpayers. So, and from that sense, the message really doesn't change. It may be phrased differently just to adapt to a different audience. But I don't have time to give inconsistent messages because I talk a lot and I write a lot, and people are always looking for you to say something or do something what they consider inconsistent, saying, "Aha, I got you." And so I am very consistent with the message that I give, and to the people that I talk to. Now, somebody will say, Abdul, are you a little bit harder on your people than other people? Well, other people aren't my problem. Other people aren't my problem. It's like, I'm going to tell you guys, here's real life from the vantage point that I see it. And because we look alike and have cultural similarities, I can say certain things to you that you'll be able to get and understand that I can't necessarily say to other people, but it may not necessarily apply.
Okay. And then also, do you, seeing that your demographic is predominantly white, and I'm making an inference there, I'm just assuming, do you feel that it is an obligation to use your platform to inform your viewership of their part of racism, if you even live in a bubble of even seeing that it exists? Do you feel that you have the platform, or it's your obligation to use that platform?
My obligation for my platforms, I will tell people, is to dispel mistruths.
Okay.
Is newsflash people, for example, I'm a big believer in the IPS school district. I love what Dr. Farabee's doing to turn the school district around, to give kids an opportunity to do well and succeed. And so one of the things I wrote was a column about how well IPS was doing with the new superintendent, new school board, and the progress they were making. Well, guess what? The majority of the people who read me are the people in the State House who are responsible for IPS's funding, who overdraft state policy. And they're like, hey, if Abdul says the school's doing well, let's get Dr. Farabee in here, let's talk to him, see what they're doing, and see how we can help. Because now they have allies in the State House, which is that white audience that's not necessarily from Indianapolis. So the way I contribute is that's what I'll do, is I'll tell that story. Because you guys all know during Expo for years they had nothing but issues and problems on that second Saturday night. Now I enjoy writing. Guess what? No issue, no problem, everything's good. Downtown's alive, vibrant. Well, this
Expo is suffering greatly.
Yeah.
Actually, Expo's making a ton of money. But
they are.
Yeah, but you got to remember how an organization like Expo makes its money. It's not on. It's like football. Football stadiums don't make money on ticket sales. That's not where they make their money.
Sponsorship.
It's sponsorships.
Right.
That's where the money comes in. That's what pays.
Yeah.
Does that mean you become not obligated to help the community that placed you there?
But it's the money from the sponsorship that allows you to help the community. If the
Right.
community's
I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that. But what I'm saying is the numbers have died drastically for the Black Expo. While they may be making money and may be wanting to do better for the community, statistically it's been dying every single year, as well as Classic.
Well, that is a national trend that's been affecting a lot of institutions like that. For example, the St. Louis, their version of Circle City Classic that they do has been fighting a stemming tide of participation.
Yeah,
That's
and the reality too is that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad made this statement in the 70s. He said Satan offers a substitute world, and that was real then, but it's for real now. Most people don't even see the need for human interaction like we used to.
I know.
because what are your kids doing?
Yeah,
they
phones,
everybody
social
got
media,
this in their hand.
Facebook.
This is stuff.
Right.
So whenever people are more into social media than actually socializing, then any open air face-to-face event is down.
It's unfamiliar.
But what I would suggest is to remember that whoever pays the piper calls the tune, and that you cannot bite the hand that feeds you.
That's right.
So whenever we become not supported but dependent upon dollars coming from big white philanthropic organizations just to survive and exist, at a certain point they call the tune because they the one that paid the piper. So we have to make sure that if somebody's giving you something and you an organization like that is icing, but you got your own cake. And if you can't function without Lilly Endowment doing what they do to take care of your overhead administration and pay the salaries of all the people, and if you can't function without Philip Morris and Company and all the different, if you can't function without them, then now you are dead and you are dependent. So you can't bite that hand that feeds you. And how are you going to be black?
Right.
And really go hard at the issues and bring the kind of minds in that can really shake,
Rejuvenate the
and
people.
inspire the masses of black people that would be there. So you don't have the Tupacs and like they used to have in the far. The minister used to be at Black Expo all the time. But so I'm not saying that to say that they're not doing good, but I'm saying that they could be doing much better
Right.
if they create a paradigm where they are independently generating their own revenue. And then anything that comes in, they can say, well, because they're going to tell you, if you bring this kind of person, we ain't going to give you no money next year. Okay, never mind.
Right. And that's the not benefit of having situations like that occur where you receive money from company or donations, or they tell you what you can do and what you can't do.
A slave?
Right.
I hear you. And and to bring that back to politics, because I mean, you made some great points, and economically, that makes me think, like, why have our people been so brainwashed to vote Democrat? If on one hand we're saying, the government isn't for us, but then on the other hand, we want to be dependent on that same government.
Systemic and generational.
Yeah, and that's what he just said. It's a hand-me-down practice. It's been handed down from one generation to
I voted
the next.
Democrat because my father voted Democrat because his father voted
and
Democrat.
that's
Right,
what everything
right. I
we
live in
doing.
this area because my mother
That's
lived
what
in this
everything
area.
we're doing.
Right.
We eat what we eat because my mama and them made it. I
Right.
go to this church because my mama and them. I
Right.
believe this because my mama and them. And they found in psychology that there's two chief areas, really three, that you don't send through the traditional process of inference, deduction, and reasoning. And that is, one, if you feel like something came from within you, or if God said it, or if mama or daddy taught it, then we say, you got some of the dumbest stuff come after my mama used to always say. But we roll with it because mama said it. So when we have that kind of hand-me-down system and allegiance to that which has never done nothing for us,
Right.
it's not working.
So, my friend, how do you explain me? Because both my parents were in the Nation of Islam.
Well, well, I'm gonna say
You
this.
went to college and met some new friends.
This is going. Watch this though. A mind once stretched by a new idea never regains its original dimensions.
And I say, thank you, Lord, for that every day.
So whatever was put in, and however it expanded your mind, at a certain point, more of it is going to be activated. I believe that, and I'm not saying that you're a bad person because you abandoned what your mama and dad and them taught you.
I just
but
like
but
bacon.
but that's not a good thing in life. Of course,
you
know
say?
that's going to keep on killing your brain cells.
I love bacon.
Let me say this. There was a brother, we was dealing with a brother, and he was real eloquent and can speak real good, but his morals was all jacked up. And we learned about it later. And somebody said to me, man, how in the world could he ever be able to speak like that and be as foul as he is in life? I said, no, that's not the question. The real question is, how much better would he have been if he had made his private life congruent with his public life? And I'm saying that to you.
Mine's very congruent.
No, listen. No, not public and public, but I'm saying to you that if you are, whatever you are right now, if you would eat better, you would even be a better version of who you are right now. So what you are right now, on that apple, what'd you call it?
Like whiskey drinking, cigar smoking,
Yeah.
bacon eating.
Yeah, well, if you would knock that out the game,
I ain't
you'd be a much better man.
Now, if I knocked that out of the game,
Now,
bunch of
that's
people,
on you.
no. If I did that, a bunch of people around me would be dead.
Well, let me say this too, that if you make the decision that you gonna say, you know what, I'm gonna eat the hog no matter what, I'm gonna drink, that's fine. But there's one or two pains that a man's gonna suffer in his life, either the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Discipline is pain on the front end and great reward on the back end, but regret means that at one point, because you will go to the doctor if you ain't already been. And he didn't told you about your high blood pressure.
Actually,
your diabetes.
actually, what the doctor has told me is, Abdul, because of your attitude, you'll probably live to be 112.
Yeah, well, I'm
because
saying
what
that
kills
to
you is
say,
the stress.
Yeah, but the swine, they study it. You love reading. Now you ain't have to do no 3 clicks.
Yeah, but I'm still going to fresh.
You just do 2 clicks.
But I'm still going to fresh time and getting my Applewood bacon.
I'm suggesting to you, my brother, that you are what you are now, but you'll be a much better version of yourself if you would go hog free and then smoke free.
I'll be a much better version of myself
and then
once
drink
I can find
free.
Once I can find whiskey, cigar smoke flavored bacon, then I am good.
All right. Well, hey, we should call that stuck on stupid. But that's on you, my brother.
Stuck on happy. I'm making money. They kill nobody.
There's one thing I want to, or a few things before we get out of here that I wanted to address in regards to Charlottesville, Virginia.
Yes, sir.
There's been some, strange things going on since Trump has gotten office. The people have felt empowered, calling it the alt-right, whatever they decide, white nationalists, whatever they decide that they are. I notice now that, some news and media are actually condemning some of these things from this, but the president actually is doing this. He came out, he addressed the situation. It sounded great, but he kind of left some things out. He came back 2 days later and address the situation for what people wanted him to address. Today, he came out and said how he really felt. So this isn't good for the climate of the country.
This is Donald Trump's problem. And I know this because of conversations I've had with people very close to the president.
Okay.
Donald Trump is a very smart person, but has an extremely short attention span.
No comments.
Like that. I mean, you don't get to be a billionaire and do real estate by being stupid. You don't build buildings in New York City, Chicago, without knowing how the game is played. His problem is that I tell the last person to talk to him is usually the last thing that he will do. It's sort of like when you screwed up at home, and it was like trying to get to mom or dad first to put the story in, put the bug in their ear, so your other brother or sister would get in trouble, not you. Donald Trump, it is just the opposite. The last person to get in his ear is usually whatever is the last thing he does. So that tells me that when all this happened, they do what all politicians do. You get everybody in the room. Okay, well, how should we respond? What should our statement be? There are probably some people who said, because the kids were like, Dad, you need to denounce these white supremacists and KKK people. This is unacceptable. Let's see, abandoned people of the world, like, no, you need to denounce all violence because, some of those people are some of our core supporters. So I can bet you $1 million that was a conversation that went back and forth. And I'll bet you $1 million that O'Bannon was probably the last person to get in his ear, like, Mr. President, you're looking weak, look like you're placating, look at those people tearing down those statues, you need to go back and blah, 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 blah. And I'll bet you $1 billion that's what happened. Because the guy is smart, but he has the attention span of a gnat. As I was told, if you're doing a PowerPoint presentation with Donald Trump, make sure your last slide is your first slide, because that's probably about as far as you're going to get.
Well, why do so many people make excuses for that? I mean,
but that's the point. So I'm gonna say this. This is, what are words? Words are nothing more than thoughts and sound married together. A person is not going to say a thing that he does not think unless somebody makes him say it. And if he's made to say it, it's not originated from his mind. It wasn't his thought. It's his sound with somebody else's thought on it. So what you heard when you heard the whatever he wanted to name, the specific, it's the white supremacy and it's that is somebody else's thought married with his sound. But he is who he is.
Yeah, it's figurehead.
He is them. See, we to think that you getting something different when you say white supremacist, alternate right, and you say Donald Trump, that's the same thing. That's like saying either water or melted ice. It's both water. You're just saying it different. So when you're dealing with him, he is who he is. That is all it is to that. So like you said, don't make excuses for the man because he failed to speak. See, he's more because he's never been told no in his life. He has a certain arrogance that disallows him to follow the script of even those that write the speeches for him. So his arrogance stops it, and he's not. Let me say this: he might be a little smart, but when you come into the game with $200 million your daddy gave you in real estate, and he gave you that and the property, and you've been raised in it. It don't take a whole lot of skill, and to be filing bankruptcy 3 or 4 times is a different kind of mathematics. It's like saying that. See, I always say that the American rulers have to be dumb to be $20-some trillion in debt after you got 400 years of free slave labor. How do you get 400 years of free slave labor to build your country, and you end up being $20 trillion in debt unless you ain't dumb as hell?
That's a great point.
You're dumb. So I'm saying that to say he had, a real good starter kit, a real good startup package. But don't try to make him say what he ain't really. It's his mind. His mind with sound is he's them. Melted ice or water, however you want to look at it, they both the same.
I'll respectfully disagree on that part. I will agree with you on this, is that part of Donald Trump's problem is that for years, Donald Trump has been the CEO. I say jump, you don't like it, you're fired, go. Government does not work that way. And I remind people that the Congress is a co-equal branch of government. And just plain and simple, that's why Trump went kind of nuts when the Republicans didn't pass, healthcare reform. You need to get back here and do this. And he's threatening the one senator from Nevada that if you don't do this, I'll run a primary, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't work for you. I work for the people of Nevada. I work for the people of Maine. I work for the people of Arizona. Mr. President, F you and the horse you rode in on. And what the Trump people are certainly starting to realize the hard way is as your approval ratings go down, it is much easier for your party or members of your party to step up and call you out. And you think you're going to get somewhere with a 34% approval rating, I will give Donald Trump credit. He has managed to do in 7 months and get to where it took Bill and Hillary Clinton almost 2 years to get to in their first term in office.
Wait a minute.
And what is that?
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
That is basically have almost bottom rocket approval ratings and on the verge possibly of losing Congress in the next election.
Okay.
He's won the negative reward.
Yep.
Right.
But
Right.
once again,
True.
proves how the private sector is much more efficient than the public sector.
And I will say to them, for us, as it doesn't matter what happens in the White House, whatever it has is never matriculated for us to have anything good or bad from it. We have to do what we have to do for ourselves and our community and our family and our kith and kin and our kind. I'm not wasting a whole lot of energy. So my brother, so I'm saying the formula we've been using, Brother Pat, we have been putting 90% of our energy into trying to repair and integrate, and only 10% of our energy trying to replace and build something that we can call our own.
Right.
Let's flip it now. It hasn't worked.
Right.
Let's put 10% of our energy into repair and into making what is here a little bit better. And then let's put the other 90% into replace and building something that we can call our own. And I think that if we take our mind off of trying to be a part of a system, we keep on saying the system is broke. No, the system ain't broke. It was built like this.
Yeah, it's
This is
working
how
how
this
it's
thing
supposed
was
to
built.
Right.
For the people, by the people, we the people. We weren't considered people when they said that. So we have to figure out, and we have the resources. We got the know-how.
Right.
We have the income. We have the experience. All we have to do now is get connected and have the confidence to go out and start doing something for self. Phase 1, be integrated and separated at the same time. We need some little Ghanas. We need some little Africas everywhere. We have to turn our neighborhoods back into communities from being a colony. Right now, the black community is not a community, it's a colony. Colony is whenever everybody that makes money doesn't live there or spend their money in that environment. Italian pizza joint, white man owned payday loan spot, Jewish owned pawn shop, Pakistani owned convenience store attached to a gas station, Korean owned beauty supply, Vietnamese owned nail spot. Black people have nothing. We got to flip that. Don't none of them that get money from us live there and invest money to make sure that area becomes better. Matter of fact, they don't even shop with us. No, we've got to take all of the needs we have and start manufacturing and doing for ourselves, going from a colony to a community. That's phase 1. That becomes a little Ghana. That becomes a little Africa. Then after we get our confidence up, like, hey, we can do this. Now it's time to go Black Wall Street again. That's a city that we had that was thriving. And then we go from a city to a state, from a state to a country, and the rest is history. So that's the math that we have to employ. We have to do for ourselves. And I'm with my brother when he deals with the complaining side. Do you know that's in the scripture? That's what messed the children of Israel up. It wasn't just fear of Pharaoh. They complained about their leadership. They complained about it's too hot, it's too cold, it's too far, it's too. Stop complaining.
Just go.
And recognize they are who they are. And we got to be who we got to be. Do for self, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, or we going to continue to suffer the consequences.
I had a question for Brother Nuri. One of our topics was black activism. Do you feel like we have, it's almost like we're reverting back to the 60s when we were trying to integrate, trying to it's like we're expending a lot of energy on acceptance, inclusion,
Yes.
but we're black nationalists, or not black activists at the same time. Are we counterproductive to our efforts because we're doing too much asking?
Yes.
Versus,
Right, I was gonna, yeah.
versus
I was gonna
actually
ask
what
that.
you're talking about. But we're really thinking in our minds that we working. We out here doing
that's
it.
because we getting tired.
Right.
But see, the poorest use of time is doing really well what need not be done at all.
Come on with that.
So we do really well what need not be. We major in the minors and minor in the majors.
Yes. Yes.
So it's like I said, less protesting and more performing.
Come on.
Less begging and let's get to building.
Come on.
See, I seen I don't know who did this, but there's a Planned Parenthood on 86 in Zionsville, and I watch people stand outside all the time with the signs protesting it. But then I looked up, and this is how white people do their protests. They stood out there with signs. Then guess what they did? They built a pregnancy center next door. I don't know who it is, but it's that pink building, and it looks better than Planned Parenthood. See, that's how you officially shut something down. I ain't gonna keep on complaining. The people that jumped on the little sister in Charlotte. Them little Asian. They better apologize. No. What you say is that I ain't buying nothing from none of y'all no more. I ain't going nowhere to buy no product unless LaQuisha owns it.
Right.
Got beauty supply around the corner, and that's where I'm going to buy my stuff from here on out. So we don't replace. We just try to repair.
Right.
We don't build. We just beg. We're majoring in the minors. We're minoring in the majors. We really have the poorest. We're doing really well what need not be done at all. And that's a whole bunch of standing and protesting and begging and asking somebody to let us in and make it better.
Right.
Now do for self.
Absolutely.
And make them come to us.
100% agree with that.
And that, my friend, I will agree with you 100%. I always said the new civil right is economics. It's plain and simple.
Yeah, well, what you teaching? We got to go from civil rights to silver rights. Yeah, just organize this paper
It's it's
that
economics.
we have and
It's-
spend it with one another and
Right.
deny them. See, if Under Armour was on the advisory board and you don't like that he's on, why in the hell are you still wearing Under Armour?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? If Campbell stayed on there, why buy Campbell's suit? You know, if Johnson & Johnson is going to stay on, then don't buy no Johnson & Johnson products and let them know why I'm not buying it.
Right.
So we just have to, we got the juice. We got the juice, and we real hard on one another. That's why we call sheep in the scripture. We'll eat each other up. We'll attack each other, but we won't do nothing to that wolf
Come on.
or that shepherd. No, let's go after the wolf like we go after one another.
Come on.
And I'm saying that to say that withdraw resources. Every time something happens, that is the most effective way. Hit them where it hurts.
Yeah, absolutely.
The white man's God is money. That's why it says in God we trust. He ain't talking about God supreme being. He talking about gold, oil, and drugs. Keep that and watch him. Yes, okay. What? Yeah. And it's not that he want to do it or that it's his nature to do it, but he feel like he have to do it to keep his God coming. And if we did that, we would be able to see ourselves in a much better state. Otherwise, we getting ready to do the same thing. Do you know why the young people don't really dig the older generation?
Why?
Because we got a baton of cowardice and non-productivity. Y'all ain't built me a damn thing. The hell I got to listen to you for? You ain't, where's the stores at? Why you ain't got no factories? We ain't making nothing. I can't even go to nobody and get a job. Say you ain't listening to y'all. So we don't want to pass on to another generation another baton of incompetence.
Right.
And the only way we won't do that is if we take the money that we have and begin to put it together, invest in silver rights.
Absolutely, and that
It's the new
includes
struggle,
that
not
includes
civil rights.
organizations that receive this money. This ties back into 10 Point and Expo. You know, in regards to these structures, there are so many people we can call them foot soldiers on the ground in the communities that are similarly doing some of the same things.
Right.
You know, I always use this. If you have an organization and your organization has received a donation, but you can only help 100 people, but you have enough money to help 300,000 people, are you going to keep helping 100 people at a time, or are you going to go grab other organizations and team up with them and start utilizing some of those funds?
Well, now that I have the resources, I can.
Right.
If I didn't have the resources before.
But let me
Right.
say this. Let me say this. What happened? This is the truth. We in the streets. Listen to me. Every day,
Right.
7 days a week,
Right.
and we stop homicides. We stop suicides. We stop domestic violence. I'm talking about almost every day. We deal with these scenarios, but we don't get no money from nobody.
That's true.
Do you know that I had someone from the city government come and tell me that brother, you can get money for what you all are doing? I said, well, the only way that we will be interested in any funding is if there's no strings attached.
Right.
Never heard from them again.
Wow.
So I want to know, whenever who get whatever, do you have some strings attached?
Right.
If it's public money, it's in the contract.
Yeah, but but it is
If it's public money, it's written down.
Yeah, but there's an unwritten law that's always attached to the written law, and that's what the police problem is. It ain't the letter of the law that's messing up law enforcement. It's the spirit of the law that is. So when you get people that can tell you, look, I'm letting you know it wouldn't be a good idea for you to do such and such and so and so. It just wouldn't look good for the next term. Wouldn't look good for the next time the contract needs to be renewed.
Right.
So when you start getting that, now you got these strings attached. Now I recommend you do so forth.
Puppet master.
Yeah,
Right.
now you puppet. So because we were unwilling to be a slave to anybody, we do what we do for free. We don't ask none of the news to show up and record it. We do it out of the love for our people. A Muslim is not a Muslim until they want for their brother and sister what they want for themselves. So whatever I have, I want you to have the same thing. And if I can give it to you in word form and show you a how-to, and you can go get it for yourself, that's real community development. You do not build a community by giving people fish. You build a community by teaching people how to fish.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So that's what we
scripture.
do. And that's our formula. So we ain't looking for no handout.
Right.
We're not looking for no. We'll make it happen on our own.
And it proves that money is not the baseline of solving our problems.
Absolutely.
You know,
It's part of it, but it's not
the base. You know,
Right.
the financial part.
The last thing I wanted to touch on, and this has been such a great discussion, is we have Black Lives Matter. You know, it came about now everything matters, right? All lives matter, blue lives matter, everything matters. Then you have, which what they've tried to, people have tried to, this Black Lives Matter has not been told that they're a terrorist organization. People have labeled them that, okay? You have the white nationalist group, or the KKK, or the Nazi, whatever they call themselves, and there's about 16 of those functioning in Indiana. They're considered hate groups. Why is it when the media decide, you know, and this goes back to the media, and you know, I kind of know the answer to this, but I want you guys to share your perspective on why they're placing these two on the same platform when they're not even close.
I don't think the media's. I don't think the media as a whole is placing those two on the same thing, because if you look at the commentary, it is distinctively clear to most sane, logical, thoughtful people. While I have no use for Black Lives Matters, I would never put those people in the same category as white nationalists and the Ku Klux Klan. And to do so is completely disingenuous, because the mission of Black Lives Matters is not to take away rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness.
Equality, justice.
Yeah, as it is for white nationalists. And somebody wrote on social media the other day, it was like, well, just so you all know that there's a difference between white nationalists and white separatists. Really? Seriously? That's your... I have this thing I always tell people in politics. There are three things they should only talk about ever to say that they are bad. Rape, slavery, and Nazis. The only time you should talk about those three things is to say they are bad and you shouldn't do them.
Right.
Whenever somebody starts... I posted on social media the other day, when somebody starts a conversation about what's happening in Charlotte, the first thing they say is, but what about, we're done talking. Because I'm as conservative as you can get, but there is no moral equivalent.
That's right.
Do I have issues with Black Lives Matters? I got a shitload of issues with Black Lives Matters, because I'll argue They won't say Black Lives Matters if the black life is taken by a blue life. When you look at the number one killer of African American men, it is other African Americans. But that's a philosophical conversation.
I'm with no.
We can have for
well,
another time.
We'll talk about that.
But to draw that moral equivalent, I was like, no, you don't get to do that. And that's coming from me, the most conservative person you'll probably find walking this planet.
We need to respect ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, this is it. Just remember this: Black Lives Matter is more of a mantra and a movement than it is a membership.
It is.
I'm a part of Black Lives Matter as a mantra and as a movement, but not necessarily a membership. They don't have a membership base where they pay dues to be a part of this group and bylaws and systems. That's not how it is. It's three sisters that was hurt about Trayvon Martin being killed and George Zimmerman not being being sentenced for the murder of him that made them come up. That was a revelation to them. Black Lives Matter. So they put it out as a mantra. It created a movement. Now they're trying to categorize it as a membership base, but it is not that. It is a mantra.
It's a hashtag,
and it is a
And
movement.
but
As we are all saying, and they say the same thing. I've been blessed to be on a panel with the three sisters in Los Angeles that came up with it. Two of those three, and we've talked, and they know that we can't afford to send a hashtag Black Lives Matter to the White House and forget to send one to the trap house too.
Come on.
We can't clash with the police when they kill us. When the police kill 2,000 to 3,000 every 3 years, but we kill 25,000 of our own every 3 years.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day,
have to take accountability.
the hashtag Black Lives Matter, the mantra and the movement and that message needs to be more preached and propagated to self than it does to others. Because at the end of the day, anyone can come with the same Don Imus mentality. You remember at Rutgers when them sisters won? He said, "Man, that's a group of nappy-headed hoes right there."
See ya.
And then he came out and apologized. But look what he said. He said that, and I notice I didn't say whores. Whores in English is what I speak. My language is English. Whores is a derogatory term. I said hoes. I learned that from the way what you all say in your own songs. So he's saying, in other words, black men, y'all call y'all women hoes. And then y'all get mad at me when a white man calls yours.
He flipped it. He rationalized it.
So that is, that I won't say a legitimate argument, but it is something that should prick your conscience.
But it undermines the moral legitimacy.
It does. It strips you some of your more authority to flex.
Right.
So I'm saying that we have to get to the point where we are sending the message and the mantra and the movement of Black Lives Matter preached and propagated more to us.
Come on.
That we get them numbers down so that we got that moral authority to tell everybody else, leave us alone. And if we do that, then listen to what I'm telling you. Let us, when we get ourselves back into the point of self-love and self-respect, then we have the right to regulate and govern ourselves. And listen to this, punish anyone that violates from the outside in whenever we stop doing it from the inside out.
Great perspective.
I want to say it was one of the weekends, shortly after the Trayvon Martin decision, a bunch of folks all got together, Military Park, and wore hoodies out of protest for Trayvon Martin. Just the day before, young African-American kid, 17 years old, shot less than a mile away. Nobody showed up for him. Nobody showed up to protest, show solidarity. And part of my issue with organizations like that is they'll take the cause of what I call low-hanging fruit, because it doesn't take a whole lot of energy and effort to really do anything. We'll show up, we'll wave some signs, we'll yell and scream, and then everybody goes back home. But fundamentally, the people need the help. They're all still here. And that's what distinguished colleague here said. What have you changed? Not a damn thing.
Right, and I understand that people use the black on black crime as a fighting tool against whether we're morally why we fight for Black Lives Matter but the thing is that we know who shot the person, as opposed to we don't know who shot old boy. All we know is that he was out in the hood or somewhere and somebody tried to kill him. We know this person was shot by an officer.
It ain't either or, it's both ends.
Right.
But I'll argue if Black Lives Matter, if someone's shot by a police officer unarmed, then damn it, they should also matter when you're shot by each other.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm not, I'm not saying that.
I'm with you.
There's.
Yeah,
You've heard of the proverbial bullfrog in a bucket.
I'm with you.
Unfortunately, we have become desensitized.
Right.
We have gotten so used to us dying at the hands of
I'm
one
with you.
another that it don't even mean like what it's supposed to mean.
Right.
So, the proverbial bullfrog in a bucket says you take a bullfrog and you put it in drop it in a bucket of boiling water. As soon as it touches it, it jumps out. But if you put it
in warm water, then slowly turn
in
the temperature
lukewarm water and turn it up gradually to a boil,
he sits there.
the adaptability mechanism in his brain will cause it to adjust to the heat, and it'll become its own soup.
Right.
Well, we have had the heat gradually increase. So much black on black, so much death has happened at the hands of one another
normalized.
that we just have become our own soup. We've become desensitized. We've gotten used to it. And then when we start seeing, see, to be honest, white people or the police have not changed. They're just getting recorded.
Right.
It's been going on. This has been going on. They just been getting taped lately.
Right.
And when we start seeing it, what? Now we it's a new thing to us. It's dropping us in a bucket of boiling water. We got to get to the point where the hot water is hotter.
Absolutely.
When we touch it, when we kill one another,
Right.
than
Thank
with someone
you.
outside
I'm with
of our
you.
community.
I want both of
Absolutely.
y'all in on that. Both of y'all in on
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, man.
Absolutely, man. This discussion has been great, man.
Thank you all.
As
Thank
always.
you
You
all
guys
for
got to start
having me.
aiming higher.
I mean, and the discussions will grow. We would hope that you would come back and have more of these discussions with us.
I'm a firm believer.
Absolutely.
You only gain by engaging in productive, constructive dialogue.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like I said, me and my good friend here will probably disagree on everything, but I love him to death. And you know what? And he's out there fighting a good fight.
Yes.
I'm not buying incense and newspapers at 30th and Fall Creek when they pull up into my car, but I'm still looking out for him nonetheless.
Well, thank you, sir. And
But I do love bean pie warm with the whipped cream on it.
Yeah, I understand. Well, we
Omar
have
juice
a,
I can't stand.
well, we have a restaurant there waiting on you. Do it with plenty of
But
fresh
if it's not
pies.
Shabazz Bakery,
Swine
I can't do
free.
anything with it.
Swine free.
Right.
Swine free.
No applewood
But,
bacon.
I would say again to you all, thank you all so much.
Thank you, man, for
Yes,
coming.
sir.
Sir.
For the
Thank you.
personal sacrifice that it takes to create a platform like this. And, all weaknesses must be made manifest before they can be perfected. So
Yeah.
if we don't have these kind of discussions, and I learned jewels and nuggets of wisdom from my brother, and I hope he got some from me as well. And I got some from you all, and I hope you got some from me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Man.
And if
of y'all.
we
Yeah.
can land on one another like a bee. See, the bee does not take everything. It just takes the best part of the flower.
Right.
And it takes the pollen and marries it with the best in itself, puts it into a comb, a honeycomb, as honey, and that honey becomes energy and healing for anybody that takes it.
Absolutely.
So hopefully y'all got some
Absolutely.
pollen
Yes.
Most definitely.
Yes.
that y'all
Absolutely.
can take
Yes.
and put to somebody that can give them some energy
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
some healing, so we can repair, restore our people, and replace this system that we live in.
See, now I've got a craving for honey baked hams. Sweet
Oh,
things.
God.
I
I'm
knew
not
it was
really a big
coming.
ham fan. I was
When you
just
said
messing
honey, I
with
knew it was coming. He was working. He was working up to
Yeah,
it.
a ham. A ham is a pig's behind. I ain't
why I
eating
don't touch
nobody's
it.
behind. But hey,
Yeah.
Halle Berry showed up. That'd be a little different.
oh Lord,
Holly Berry.
commercial break again. But thank you all so much,
Thank you.
brothers,
Thank you,
sister
brother.
Evan.
Absolutely.
Hey, my
Thank
pleasure
Absolutely.
to be here. Always happy to come on
Abdul
anytime.
Shabazz.
Thank you. Yes.
sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What we like to do right here, and you've done a lot of closing.
Yeah.
We'd like to just do closing remarks to the audience. Again, we would love to have this discussion again. There's always things happening every week, every month. So we'll try and schedule something tentatively after this so that we can
Yes, sir.
have more discussions about this and the
Absolutely.
things that are
Absolutely.
coming. Because if we can sit back in our homes all day long and say, well, why don't they get it, or why don't they do this? But the fact that we're here discussing and everybody's on social media now watching and listening in, now they can take these different things and different perspectives and kind of work toward building and being better. And that's what I think is valuable about what we're doing right here. So what we like to do is do closing remarks. You just let people know where they can find you and give them some last pieces of advice.
My main website, political website, is indiepolitics.org. That's I write about a lot of Indiana government politics. Also, the weekend radio show at WIBC and write for the Indianapolis Star and
Sure.
do Channel 6 commentary. My thing is this. I was kind of monitoring some of the discussion back
Sure.
and forth. And obviously, for some folks in the audience, I'm not a big fan. They're not going to be big fans. But you know what? That is perfectly fine. The beautiful thing about America is that we can have these discussions. You can chime in, have your comments. You know what? I don't take it personally. I've been called worse by my wife. Matter of fact, she called me worse when I left the house and told her I was coming here today because we got to get ready to go on vacation and get out of Dodge. So I always tell people, just be respectful. Don't get personal. Or if you are going to get personal, get to know me first. And you'll find there's so many reasons for you to hate my guts. Just get to know me and hang out with me for a little bit. But at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want good schools for our kids. We want safe neighborhoods. We want people to be uplifted and economic empowerment. We may not necessarily agree on how to get there, but newsflash, this discussion has been going on for more than 100 years. Go back and look at some of the debates between Booker T. Washington and the readings of W. Du Bois. It was the exact same thing more than 100 years ago. So, as the old saying goes, Horatio, there's nothing new under the sun. I mean, we just sort of, we think we're doing something new, when at the end of the day, really, no, we're not. So, just got to keep that in perspective. And you want to reach out to me, you reach me on Facebook or Abdul@indiepolitics.org. I answer every email that I get.
Thank you.
So if people want to engage in this ongoing discussion dialogue, I am more than happy, but don't come unarmed. I'm just going to warn you ahead of time. Don't come unarmed, and don't come talking crazy.
Well, thank you, brother, for coming on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I think I gave my closing
Yeah, you
thought,
did.
But I want
You
to recommend that this Sunday, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is going to be doing a live address at 11 a.m.
Okay.
We're going to show it, a live webcast
Okay.
at the mosque right there on 38th in Baltimore.
Okay.
And if you can't make it there, you can pull it up on your phone or pad, whatever, at noi.org.
Okay.
noi.org. But I don't know about y'all, but I want to know,
Absolutely.
what does the minister have to say about Charlottesville and
Absolutely.
all the Trump and all that's going on in the world? And I would hope that all would tune in and remember that there is a big difference between speculation and revelation.
Absolutely.
And when you get a chance to hear from a man like the minister, you don't get speculation, you get revelation.
Yeah.
Thank you all
Absolutely.
again for having me. I look forward to being on the airwaves with you all again.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Hopefully we can keep the boots on the ground and use this as a platform
Absolutely.
to airstrike
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
on falsehood, envy, jealousy, fear, and distrust that messes our people up.
You know,
Absolutely.
a good Cohiba cigar solves a multitude of issues. Really.
He's hilarious, man. He's hilarious.
Ebony. Thanks. Thanks, Nuri.
I won't go into a whole thesis as I probably normally do, just because I'm so excited when we have guests on, especially our brother Nuri. I wanted to thank you, brother Abdul, and brother Nuri for being on. Like you said, we need these discussions. Transparency is really what's going to heal, and get us in the mission mindset to replace. So I just think that I'm just thankful for both of you coming on and providing those perspectives, and then even coming common ground on some things, because
Absolutely.
I think that kind of is an example of how our viewers, how our community can do that.
Right.
Yes.
As people, we don't have to agree on everything.
My mother always said
It's
nobody has
okay.
monopoly on good ideas or stupidity.
Yeah, you don't have to see eye to eye on everything
Right.
to work arm in arm on
That's
some
it.
things.
Right. Absolutely.
That's it. And that's it.
P. Wills. Thanks, Ebony.
Oh, wow. Listen, I got a lot of diamonds, man, from everybody in this room. All right. So I thank you, brothers, man, for, coming on, blessing our platform, man, with your knowledge and wisdom and everything. I want to thank the viewers for tuning in and sharing this discussion on your pages, too, with the multitude of comments, man. Sorry we couldn't get to you, but there's a lot of heat in this room tonight. Much needed heat. I always say that we are all connected. So once people really start to, realize that, and, I read some of the comments too, people aren't going to agree with everything, but just understand that, these two brothers here, they, their mind and their hearts are in the right place. Their perspectives might not be the same, but, they did find common ground, and, we can just learn from what each other said. So You know, and we do, and as a people, man, we do have to take accountability and just build toward a better future, and not be dependent, man. You know, we really have to change our mindset on politics and you know, economics, and just be educated on both.
Yes,
Absolutely. Thank you, P. Wills. Hey, you guys have said just about everything that I can say. You know, I'm just excited that we're able to share this information and have this dialogue on a platform where people are safely in their homes and able to focus in and listen and really hear the different sides of things that's going on. And I just, you know, I can wish that we had this back then, but we can only start now moving forward and start to create more platforms and different things like this. We can't sit on the sidelines and hope and wish and wonder why people are doing certain things. Like you both said, we have to get out into the playing field and start creating and start making it happen. You know, action speaks louder. You know, faith without works is dead. You know, in so many ways it's around us. So we just have to apply this news, knowledge, and experience that you guys are supplying here today, and just get out there and do it. So,
and if you go back 50 years, I can bet you $100 our parents were having the same conversation around the table at family get-togethers.
Without the action.
And also, somebody said shout out to the brother in the back. Somebody always acknowledge.
And crack a smile. Yeah, he's serious back there, brother.
Brother in the room.
Yes. I just want to also thank the viewers. The viewers, man, we have some of the most supportive viewers I've ever seen. You know, this is our first time doing this platform since January, and we've just growing every week and every month. And we're going to continue to consistently do this because there's so many people that enjoy it. And we can't stop. So we thank y'all for tuning in and sharing and believing in us, and just keep it going. And we're going to continue being the voice for the community.
Absolutely.
You can change the narrative. You can change the nation.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
you.
Y'all got to get y'all an applause button, man.
Welcome to the Gray
Thank
Area.
y'all so much.
The Gray Area Media. We've obligated ourselves to be the voice for all communities, speaking on topics that include community, religion, education, politics, technology, sports, health, and wellness. The Gray Area Media is a platform created by longtime friends for the sole purpose of providing our communities with the ability to voice current, past, and modern-day issues. The Gray Area, in its naming significance, solely speaks to the area in which people shy away from speaking because of media-based constraints or contractual-based obligations. Well, I'm here to tell you, we don't do that here. So please, stay tuned in. We're going to go live in a few minutes. Don't forget, please add us as a friend on Facebook so that you can follow our live feed. And not only that, please add us on Twitter and Instagram at The Gray Area Media. Please visit our website at www.thegrayareamedialive.com. Thank you.